You know, the corridors of Parliament are brimming with young blood. Bright, educated politicians who are going to lead India in the next decades. I want to see the face of India's future, read its mind, hear its thoughts. So I've invited the youngest member of Parliament and among the brightest, Sachin Pilot. Hi, Sachin.
Hi.
I am really delighted to have you here because I knew your father and he was such a charismatic person. To have Rajesh Pilot's son here is wonderful.
Thank you for calling me.
Tell me, politics wasn't the first choice for a career for you, was it?
I can't say it was. No, it wasn't something that I thought of.
You hadn't?
No, not at this stage of my life. I was still studying when my father passed away. And we never really talked about me becoming a politician because he was still young, he was doing well for himself and we all were behind him. And he met with the accident. And then suddenly things changed. I was working, I had things planned for
you
myself.
You were working, you did a small stint with the BBC.
I worked with BBC.
And you worked for 2.5 years with General Motors.
Yes.
Before you went on to do your MBA at Wharton Business School.
Yes.
So would you say that your course changed with your father's accident?
In hindsight, yes, it did. Like I said, me becoming a politician or running for elections was never discussed. I and he never sat down and talked about this was ever going to happen.
And what did you think you'd be doing?
I was, probably work in a company or do my own business or things of that sort.
Then what made you join politics?
I came back in 2001, and my mother had fought the election after my father's passing away.
That's right.
So she was an MP at that point, and I was helping her in her work, working together, and I was getting more and more active. And slowly I started feeling that people wanted me to do a lot more than just giving helping hand. And I worked within the party for a couple of years.
You organized your father's campaigns?
Yes, I used to help him as a family. 90s. Between my parents, there were many elections that we had to fight. So in 2004, the elections came by and the Congress party, the Congress president felt that I would be a good candidate to contest, and I ran for elections.
And you were happy to change the course of your life?
It was a very conscious decision. I thought that I could deliver a lot more if I did this. And it wasn't under pressure or...
Emotional?
No, not even emotional. It was a very well thought. I thought out to myself and I said, this is what I want to do and this is a place where I can be of much more use.
Your father was known as a Kisan Neta and now you are known as a Kisan Neta. How does a Wharton grad identify with an Indian farmer?
I as an individual, I just do what I feel I ought to do. 3/4 of our country lives in villages, and that's where real India lives. Our endeavor must be really to make those areas more prosperous, and that's what I do in my life, and that's what my father used to do.
Can you identify with the farmer?
Well, absolutely, and I think if you don't identify, if they can't relate with you, if they don't think of you in their good times and bad, then you just...
And you can understand their minds and needs coming from Wharton as you do?
Going to the US and doing an MBA from Wharton was something that I wanted to learn. I wanted to, learn the best practices in business and then bring them back here and serve in India in whatever form I could. But, my family, at least my father, when we were growing up, never made to forget where we came from, what our roots are, where we belong. And, my father had seen a very tough time when he was very young. So we were always brought up keeping that reality very much in check, because everything comes and goes in life, fame, fortune, position, money, power. But if you have a conscience and if you understand who you are and what your identity is, if you're centered, I think then your path is much more clearer.
What from Wharton do you bring to use in your present political career?
Well, the Indian electoral politics has its own nuances. So I don't think management techniques apply directly in that area. But I think as the world changes, as India is changing, a lot of issues have to now get related to economics.
Certainly, and you are an economist.
Well, I think it's important for people to understand, how it's becoming more globalized, how the economy plays a lot more role than it did 10, 20, 30 years ago. So I think it's good that younger people, not just in politics, I think in business, in any area of work, understand the world as one entity. And I think higher education helps you to do that.
You must have come in with a lot of enthusiasm to do things
to turn things around, to bring your vision to reality. We, as normal people, say, oh God, this should change, that should change. If I had power, I would do this. I'm sure you must have had the same kind of a feeling.
Well, absolutely. I think if you don't have enthusiasm, if you don't have the zest and the fire to go and do something, achieve something, meet your targets, I think it's no fun being in this job.
No, but that's what I want to know. What problems does a young politician face to bring his new methodology into practice?
Well, problems I think that everybody would face in my position. You would like to do many more things. There are hindrances. There are some obstacles. There is some opposition. There is sometimes lack of fund. There's lack of urgency within the system. But it shouldn't really make you feel negatively about things. I think it's wrong to be pessimistic. I never am. Even if I don't succeed in whatever I'm trying to get done, I still take heart in saying that we've set the ball rolling. We moved 2 steps instead of 1. And if you are perseverant, I think the results will come.
In the 2004 elections, when you and other young, educated, bright young boys stood for elections, there was great enthusiasm and we were all very, very happy. But how would you say your party has utilized the assets that you bring to the table?
I think in the Congress party, there is a lot of engagement with the members of the party. And we give our suggestions, we debate, we discuss, we deliberate, we approach our party leaders, our party president, our prime minister, our ministers, and said this is a set of issues that we think are important. We need to address them, and these are the areas where we need to prioritize. So these are the areas that we have been neglecting thus far. So I think when the party manifesto is made, when the budgets are made, I think a lot of engagement is done.
Okay, so you do have a platform to express your views and methods.
Absolutely. I think it's a very open party, where if I feel strongly about something, I have the open space to go and address it and to bring it to the right person's notice, and then action is taken after that.
How often are you allowed to speak in Parliament?
As often as you'd like to. If you want to talk on a certain issue, you want to raise a certain question, it's full freedom. Anybody can speak about whatever they want to speak about.
So you can, you are given freedom?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's wrong, the perception people have that, the voices are muted. In fact, there's a lot of encouragement, not only from the party leaders, but by our Congress President herself. She encourages a lot of us to, go out and speak, and, it's not how it's been presented sometimes.
No, because we definitely feel there's a glass ceiling for young politicians.
I think that's wrong. Obviously the expectations are very high. People want things to change rather quickly. I think it's important really to be practical. It's important to be a bit patient. But the process has started. The process of change has started. The metamorphosis, I think, has begun.
I don't know. I think there's a disappointment, amongst people. They expected that, here is this breed of young, educated people, and they're going to do things for the country. They voted you in to bring about a certain change, didn't they? They don't see enough being done by you and the other young, educated people who are in Parliament.
I think, there are people who are very happy, very excited about the changes that have come about, and there are some people who will say it hasn't happened fast enough or not much has been done. It's not a one-day cricket match, is it? I mean, you really don't think that anybody or any group of people or anyone can come and change the system with one magic wand. There are compulsions, and governance is something that in today's times, we are in a coalition government. So there are a lot of other things that come into play. True. And you are restricted. I think there's lesser elbow room than you would have liked. Given those circumstances, I think everyone is doing the best they can. some people may not be satisfied with it. They would want more immediate changes and 180-degree turnaround in things.
No, I don't think we're being unrealistic in our expectations. I think we just, this is what we would have liked to see. We would have liked to see fresh blood with new ideas coming in and executing them. And we don't see that. I'd like to know, how old would you have to be and how grey would you have to be before you're given posts?
That's another thing I really want to share my mind with you on this.
Please
one.
do.
The fact of the matter is, it's not an age thing. I think it's not the amount of grey hair you have. You really can't have just really young people or really old people. I think the best way forward is to have a mixture of experience, of age, of people who've served decades in public life, and also of younger people who are more creative, who have the energy, who have the physical stamina, who have the imagination to get things going.
And new ideas, new methods.
Exactly, and new ideas, and then marry the two together. I think that is what is happening in India.
Tell me something truly, isn't there a sense of frustration amongst you and your other, like, Milind, Yura and Ajay and Scindia?
I don't think so. I can speak for myself. I think every one of us has a certain mandate to do certain things.
What is your mandate?
My mandate is to serve the people of my constituency, to further the ideology of my party, to help it become stronger than it is today. That's my personal mission.
When you stood for the elections in 2004, what promises did you make to your constituency?
When I ran for elections, we had a party manifesto, which is what the party was going to do. And me personally, I've known that area for the last 20 years. So I didn't go around town making announcements about this is what I'm going to do if and when I get elected. All I'd said to them when I was running for my elections, and I stand by that today, is whatever is in my power to do to help better this area that is going to elect me, I will do.
So what did you commit?
I committed that I will work for them and do as much as I possibly can, in terms of infrastructure development, resources allocated, education, sanitation, healthcare. But I think you can't just do one thing. You have to really be there for them when they need you. And I think that's a commitment very many people can't make.
Now when you go back to seek a new mandate in the next elections, what are you going to tell them you've done for them?
The Indian electorate is a very smart one. So it doesn't matter what I say on this show, it doesn't matter what I say on public platforms in my speeches, they know exactly who has done what. So a list is long.
That you have accomplished.
That I've done, I've got it moving and things are on the ground for people to see. But like I said, more than the results, people also really see how much effort you're putting into it. If you are genuinely making that effort to get things done, people appreciate that.
Sachin, we know that India is a flourishing economy and the world is looking at us as a great potential power. But there are problems that are intrinsic problems in India which need to be addressed. I want to know from you, what worries you most?
The single biggest worry that I have, that in the future moving forward, India consists of 640,000 villages. I think if they are not made stakeholders in India's great growth story, I think we're doing ourselves a disservice. I think if we can get them into the mainstream, I think that is the single biggest thing that we have to achieve.
Mainstream, you mean the cities, right?
No, mainstream is people who have jobs, who
in the cities.
who are looking to who are aspiring to have a better life.
But where is the infrastructure in the cities anyway?
I think every city is suffering today because of huge migrations. People are moving to cities to look for jobs. It creates a big drain on the resources, and the cities can't cope with it. They're decaying.
Is it because of that, or is it because of a lack of planning? Cities that look like slums?
You can always put the blame on someone who did something in the past. It could be a bureaucrat, it could be a politician, and most likely it's always a politician. But I think the problem lies is lies in the fact that people are looking to move to cities to get opportunities to work, to have a better life, to make more money. And I think the city doesn't have the resources or the infrastructure to sustain that kind of population.
Nor the planning.
Nor the planning.
Every day you read on the news bars, this company is coming in, that multinational is coming in, so-and-so is coming in, and you wonder, where is the infrastructure? Where are they going to operate from? How are they going to get from the airport to their offices?
But this has been, I think, one of the biggest drawbacks in our country, that we don't have the requisite infrastructure, quality infrastructure. For the size and the scale of this country, you know, it's in bad shape.
Is anybody doing anything
but
about
I
it?
I think steps have been taken in the recent past. Now, you look at the highways, I think the airports, the railways, there is a big push to try and get more people to invest in infrastructure, domestic investment, overseas investments. I think work is in progress.
You want overseas investments, but you're not giving them the place for them to work comfortably. Look at China. China decided that they wanted foreign investments. First, they handle the infrastructure to make everything possible so that when people come in, they're not going to be frustrated. Why did we not do that? We just have a lack of planning. 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30 years ahead, we just don't do it.
Like I said, it's always easy to point fingers and, and pass the blame on to something that went wrong for someone who was responsible. Fair enough. I think we have a right to do that.
You've become a politician, it seems.
No, not at all. I think this is...
When you were just an ordinary citizen and not a politician, what did you feel about all these things?
I felt the same way. I felt, we need to shake some trees, we need to do something different, we need to get going. And I feel now it has begun to happen. But now I realize that we can't do it overnight. It takes time in this country to build consensus on policies. We have a coalition government. We have a fragmented mandate in parliament. We have to evolve a consensus. That takes time.
But I always find that politicians, everybody, you are a normal person before you become a politician. There are two categories, normal person and politician.
I think that's not fair. I think that...
Then once you become a politician, then you start defending what's wrong with the system by, justifying it.
I think when you become a politician, one learns to be less critical. You must acknowledge the reality, but it doesn't mean that you have to really criticize everything that you do and all the ills of everything
No,
that's
they're
wrong.
not. That's not what we do. I think a lot of, as you yourself said, a lot of Indians are educated about the political system. They know. They know everything. So I don't think they just unnecessarily put the blame on you. But on the other hand, it's because of our hopes and our expectations. It is our own hopes that disappoint us, our own expectations.
I think nowhere in the world, people's aspirations, their needs, their expectations are so closely tied to the politicians than in India. Expectations are so much, for everything, personal, social, developmental work, everything. For basic needs, people need help of politicians, of governments. And that is why
because you can't get it done otherwise.
Exactly. That is why they feel related. They feel they have to push them to get that work done.
The system doesn't work, that's why. We have to get a person of influence to do something.
Well, in cities, but I think in rural areas, it's more of who, India is a different country. We have, 30 odd states. There are elections, and I think democracy is something which takes up a lot of our time. So when you compare India to China, I can list 10 different areas where we're better than China. We have the functioning democracy.
Oh, certainly.
But you're right, and I concede that point, that in this country, infrastructure is something that everyone is worried about. Every single party in this country feels we need to have and ought to have a better infrastructure.
But will anybody do it?
We are doing it. We've started the open sky policy, more airlines are coming in, it's opening up the market, and we are going ahead with full steam.
Another very important point. What about corruption in politics? Why is the politician immune to the law and accountability?
There is no law in this country which says politicians are immune. Everyone is equal in the eyes of law. Corruption is something which is most closely associated with politics. I agree with you on that. I think it is a job of the politicians, of the political class, to lead by example. I think we have not been able to do that.
1/5 of the members of parliament have been accused of crime, embezzlement, rape and murder. And nothing is being done about them. They move around freely. They are immune to the law. Whereas if the common man did this, all the forces would be on him. He wouldn't stand a chance.
No one's proud of that. Nobody's proud of that.
What's going to be done about it?
Well, like I said, we can make laws, but the execution of the laws, the implementation of those laws, that's what's important. There are certain laws which disqualify you from running for elections. These changes were brought about very recently. For the longest time, there was no barring of people to seek mandate for running for elections. Now there is a stricture. there is a law that if you have certain cases, certain convictions, you can't run for elections.
But you already have so many members
We
of
had a
parliament.
recent case of, there was a scandal of cash for questions, etc.
okay, yeah.
Immediate action was taken.
Oh, certainly.
I
agree.
think for the first time in Indian history, such a large number of MPs were shown the door by the parliament itself. We didn't need a court for that. But you're right, I think not enough has been done so that the perception can change.
First and foremost, I feel that members of parliament come in with the wrong idea. They are not leaders of the country. The leader of the country is the prime minister. They are there to serve the people. They
Absolutely.
are servants of the people.
Absolutely.
I don't think most members of parliament feel that.
I think when you run for election, you're offering your services for a period of 5
That's
years
right.
for the electorate. That, if you press that button against my name, I am going to serve you 5 years, and that's my responsibility, and that's the mandate that you will give me to serve you. I think if even that much we can't do, then we're not doing justice to ourselves.
True. What kind of an India do you see 10 years from now? 2016.
I see a much, much stronger India. I see a country that is young, progressive, a country that is actually transcended its differences. And I just hope that with the younger people taking on a larger role in society, we're able to overcome those religious, cultural, linguistic, regional barriers that we have. I think that will happen when we grow as one entity.
Do you really think it'll happen?
It is
Sachin?
going to happen. India is the country to watch out for, and I think in the next few years we are going to be amongst the top ranking nations in the world.
Definitely we will. But I know that you and Rahul both have given interviews where you've said that you wish to see an India which will not be, which will be disassociated with religion and caste and creed, and where people will be judged by merit and by their work. I've read those interviews and I love what you've said and I love what Rahul said. But is it possible? Is it not utopian? Can it ever happen here?
Well, if you can't dream of it, you'll never get it.
Yeah.
It is possible, and it's possible in the near future. Why not? What's going to stop us?
Okay, I want to ask you, as a young politician, if you could address the people of the nation for 1 minute, and you know that each single Indian will be listening, what would you say to them?
This is a great country to be in. This is the great time to be an Indian. And if we all do our jobs the way we're supposed to, nothing can stop us to getting where we want to get. We can achieve any target. We can be the best in everything. And it doesn't matter. We have these blips, we have violence, we have terrorism, we have a few riots here and there. We can transcend those. We can move forward, we can work together. And one of the most important assets we have in this country is a truly dynamic, functioning democracy. Less than half this country goes out and casts their vote. And believe me, bad people get elected because good people don't vote. Especially the younger people have to realize that use their franchise. That vote is so crucial, it's so important. Go and vote for the right person and then make that person responsible, ask questions, make them accountable. I think that's the best way forward.
Well, Sachin, I hope that every Indian hears this. I have to say that when I was seeing all the corruption and the cruelty that happens in our country, and I think to myself, will it ever end? But when I see people like you, and I know where our country is going, I must say I feel a lot of hope for the future. Shall we meet Sarah now?
Yeah, sure.
At least that brought a smile to your face, Sachin.
The pairing is emblematic. Farooq Abdullah's daughter and Rajesh Pilot's son.
We grew up with politics.
Both my parents were in politics.
Even though my mother is English and Christian, but still the upbringing was Muslim. I have married into a Hindu family.
Religion is a very personal thing.
There are a lot of tears and there's a lot of heartache from all sides. We did get married, so there is a happy ending.
One of the toughest jobs on planet is, being the wife of an Indian politician.
For now, I don't want to give him a hard time.